Have you ever had a moment where your life just pauses? Not because you wanted it to, but because something forced you to stop. Suddenly, everything you were building, everything you were working towards just halts, or at least it feels like it does. And you're sitting there in the silence of that pause thinking, what just happened? And more importantly, what on earth do I do now? If you feel like you're standing at the bottom of a mountain, you've already climbed once and you're being told to climb it again, this time you're tired, you're bruised, and you're carrying more weight, then this video is for you. Because today, we are unmasking the truth about starting again. You aren't failing, you're evolving. But before we dive in, I need to share a quick reminder. I'm sharing my personal journey and the research that has helped me understand my own brain and body. But I'm not a doctor, I am not a therapist, but maybe I should be. This is not medical advice, so if you are struggling with your health right now, please chat with a professional who knows your specific history. Take what resonates here and leave the rest. Today, I want to talk about something a lot of us are going through, even if we are scared to say it out loud. It's the grief of our past self, that feeling of having to start again when you didn't plan to. Not because you failed, not because you gave up, but because something changed. Your health, your energy, your situation, and now the version of you that built everything before doesn't feel the same anymore. I've been going through this too with my health, with burnout, and with my nervous system, and it finally said enough. And honestly, it's very frustrating. It is emotional, and sometimes it's really discouraging. Because you want to keep going, because something inside you is screaming, I can't keep going like this anymore. I can't do it the same way. And I think the hardest part isn't the physical tiredness, it's actually the identity crisis of it. We live in a world that tells us our worth is equal to our output. And if you're producing, you are valuable. If you're busy, you're important. So when you stop, even if you have to stop, you don't just feel tired, you actually feel worthless and you feel like you're disappearing. I struggled with this so much. I thought, if I'm not the doer, then who am I? If I'm not the one holding it together, do I still matter? If you are asking yourself that today, I want you to listen closely. Your value is not a fluctuating stock price based on your productivity. You are not a machine. You are a human being, and human beings operate in different seasons. You might be in a place right now where things don't look the way you expected. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's burnout. Maybe it's just life stacking up. For me, I got to the point where my body just said no. No for pushing, no for ignoring it. And it's a really hard place to be because your mind it just literally keeps running a mile a minute. You're thinking about your goals, you're thinking about your to-do list, but your body is at a standstill. So you feel stuck in between, not where you were and not where you thought you would be. I used to think burnout was just being tired, but as I started reading books on stress physiology, like The Body Keeps the Score or Burnout by the Nagoski sisters, I learned that burnout is not just in your head. It's actually in your biology. It's the state of physical depletion. Your nervous system has two main modes. There's the sympathetic state. That's your fight or flight. That's the hustle, the go, go, go. And then there's the parasympathetic state. That's rest and digest. That's healing. The problem is, the most of us have been stuck in fight or flight for years, maybe even decades. When you hit the wall, it is your body forcing a reset. It's not because you're lazy. It's because your nervous system has slammed on the brakes to prevent catastrophic failure. And when this happens, when you're stuck in that gap, your brain starts to tell you a very dangerous story. You're falling behind. You're losing progress. Everything is slipping. But here's the truth that I needed to hear. This isn't failure. This is depletion. There is some fascinating research on how chronic stress affects our brain chemistry, specifically a chemical called dopamine. We usually think of dopamine as the reward chemical. It's what makes you feel good when you check a box or finish a task. But research suggests that when we are overwhelmed for too long, our brain's ability to process that reward actually changes. Experts call this anhedonia. It basically means your spark goes out. So even if you do accomplish something, you don't feel it. You don't feel the win. So you feel like you haven't done anything, even when you've done a lot. And that changes everything. Because it means you aren't broken and you're not failing. You are just chemically exhausted. And if you're neurodivergent like me, this can feel even heavier because our brains often don't have a filter. We process more sound, more light, more emotion. So when our energy drops, the world feels louder. Simple things like the sound of a dishwasher or answering an email can feel like climbing Everest. And that disconnect between a racing brain and a tired body is where the frustration lives. When I looked at what led me here, it wasn't one big thing. It was everything stacked together. Deadlines, expectations, pressure, trying to do everything right. And when you care, you don't slow down. You push and you push harder until something pushes back. I read a study recently about something called allostatic load. That's just a fancy science term for the name wear and tear on your body from chronic stress. It's like driving a car with the RPMs in the red zone for 10 years straight. Eventually, the engine is going to overheat, and that's what happened to me. And here's the trap I fell into. Maybe you can relate to this. When I finally tried to rest, I didn't actually rest. I would lay on the couch, but I would be scrolling on my phone or watching the news or planning my comeback in my head. I learned that this is called fake rest because your brain is still processing information. It's still taking in data. True rest, the kind that heals burnout, requires safety, and it requires silence. If you are resting, but you are judging yourself for resting, you aren't resting. You are just stressed in a horizontal position. So here's the question that changed my perspective. What if the problem isn't that you're starting over? What if the problem is you were never meant to carry that much weight in the first place? What if this pause isn't a punishment? What if it's a correction? You need to hear this. You are not starting over. You are starting again. And there's a massive difference. Starting over implies that you are back at zero, that the last few years were a waste, but that's a lie. You are starting again with experience, awareness, with lessons you didn't have before. You have data now. You know what burns you out. You know what drains your energy. You know what your body needs. You already learned what doesn't work. And that matters. That's valuable data. Even if it doesn't feel like progress right now, think of an archer pulling back a bow to launch the arrow forward. You have to pull it back first. The pullback isn't the retreat. It's the gathering of power. You are in the pullback. When your body slows you down, it feels like it's against you. It literally feels like betrayal. But what if it's protecting you? In a world of nervous system health, there is a concept called the freeze mode response, right? It's when the animal or human shuts down to survive. So when you hit that wall, that's not weakness. That's your body saying, we are unsafe at this speed. We need to do this differently. And if your system is more sensitive, things can feel louder, heavier, harder to recover from, but that doesn't make you weak. It means you're aware, and that awareness can become your superpower. So how do we actually do this? How do we rebuild? Here's 7 steps that helped me start again without starting from zero. Step number 1, simplify. You don't need to carry everything. There is a great analogy about juggling in life. We are all juggling balls, let's say. Some are made of rubber, some are made of glass. The rubber balls are things like laundry, emails, social media posts. If you drop them, they will bounce. You can pick them up later. Then there's the glass balls, things like your health, your family, your sanity. If you drop them, they shatter. So when you are starting again, you have to identify which balls are rubber. Drop them, let them bounce. Focus only on the glass. Step 2, rebuild trust. When we burn out, we stop trusting ourselves. We feel like we've let ourselves down. To fix this, we need to use floor goals. A ceiling goal is I will work out for an hour. A floor goal is I will put on my sneakers. When you are low on energy, lower the bar. Set a goal so small you cannot fail. Drink 1 cup of water, write 1 sentence, breathe for 1 minute. Keep small promises to yourself. That is how you rebuild self-trust. Step 3, remove urgency. Not everything is urgent. We live in a world of ASAP, but very few things are actually emergencies. Most of the pressure we feel is manufactured. Give yourself permission to delay. I will get that when I have the capacity. Your healing is not an emergency project. It is a slow process. Number 4, self-talk. Pay attention to your inner voice. If you had a roommate who followed you around all day saying, "You're so lazy, you're not doing enough, look at you wasting time," would you kick that roommate out? So why would we even let that voice live in our heads? You have to soften the tone when you hear that voice and correct it. Replace "I'm failing" with "I'm recovering." Languages changes your biology. Number 5, adapt. You're not quitting, you are adjusting. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, rest. Adapting your strategy doesn't mean you are giving up on the goal. It just means you're smart enough to change the path to get there. Step 6, beginner again. There is a concept in Zen Buddhism called Shoshin. It means beginner's mind. When we are experts, we are rigid, we have expectations. When we're beginners, we are open, we are curious, we are allowed to make mistakes. Give yourself permission to be a beginner again. You're allowed to be slow. You're allowed to be messy. There is so much freedom in that. Step 7, slow is forward. This is my favorite one. Slow progress is still progress. We overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do in a year. 1 inch forward is still change in position. Don't look at the mountain, just look at your feet. Take 1 step, then another. So if you feel like you're starting over today, you're not. You're starting again with more awareness, more understanding, and more strength than before. And if things feel heavier for you, more intense, you're not imagining that. Some people feel that things are more deeply, but that doesn't stop you. It just means your path looks different. And that is okay. I want to know, what is 1 glass ball that you are protecting right now? And what is one of the rubber balls you're willing to drop? Let me know in the comments. I read them all. And if this video helped you, please share it with someone who needs it, because we shouldn't have to do this alone. I'll see you next time on Tosha Lee Unmasked. All right. Bye.